Hi, my name is Sandhi. Today we're going to be speaking with Ms. Vineeta Malhotra. Ms. Malhotra graduated from the Tepper School of Business at Carnegie Mellon University in 2013 with a BS in Business Administration. After graduating, she worked at companies such as IBM and Spotify before starting her job at Uber. Now she's a senior product operations manager there. So, Ms. Malhotra, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm great, Sandy. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for sitting down with us, sharing your advice. I'm really excited.
Yeah, same. Excited to talk to you today.
So, first of all, did you already know in high school that you wanted to pursue business?
I did not. I knew I had an interest in business, but I also knew that I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my career. So I was part of different organizations in high school, but when I was really exploring career opportunities, I was looking at business. I was also looking at pharmacy. So I actually
Mhm.
applied to both of those programs in undergrad, in high school,
Mhm.
to give myself kind of the option of going either way. So I only really chose business at the very last moment when I had to decide what school to go to.
Got
Kind of
it.
fell into a little bit.
Oh, really? So, how did you decide between the pharmacy and business programs that you applied to?
I talked to a lot of people about what they did, what their day to day was like, what kind of roles they had, and companies they worked for. And I
Mhm.
think ultimately I wanted to work somewhere that was more relatable, something that I used every single day and used skills that were a little bit more tangible and not necessarily as like nuanced as being as working in the pharmaceutical industry or being a pharmacist. So that's why I kind of chose business. I think it keeps a lot of options open for you. You can go down so many different paths with business. So
Mhm.
all that ultimately led me to choose business as my final major.
Got it. And what made you decide to choose the business program at Carnegie Mellon?
Yeah, so I applied to Carnegie Mellon against my will, actually. One of my uncles made me apply
Mhm.
because they were like, hey, Carnegie Mellon is a great business school. You should think consider it. And my mind was actually set on NYU Stern. So
Okay.
I applied to only 7 or 8 schools, actually, and NYU was always my top choice. And then
Mhm.
Carnegie Mellon was kind of like, I guess I'll do it because, I guess it's a good ranking and I don't really want to go, but I'll apply to make my family happy.
Mhm.
And when I went to go visit schools, I got into NYU Stern. I also got into Carnegie Mellon. And so I went in visiting with an open mind, but when I went to go visit Stern, I actually was um, not as impressed because I wanted a campus and I
Mhm.
wanted a, college atmosphere where all the students knew each other, they ran into each other, and you had a lot of different opportunities for clubs and organizations. But I think Stern to me felt a little bit too sprawling across New York City campus. Each class size was also huge. I would be incoming with a class of like 500 freshmen in just Stern freshman year. And when I went to go visit Carnegie Mellon's campus, I fell in love with it. It was a beautiful weekend in April. The weather was perfect. The campus is amazing. It's like very contained. It's small enough that you could walk from end to end in 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Everyone was out. Everyone was so friendly. So I think I really just connected more with the student body and the college atmosphere. Each class also, my incoming class was only 60 people. So it felt much more personal as well. The class
Yeah.
sizes would be smaller. So I think, yeah, it really shocked me as well when I visited, but I
Mhm.
think I was just so in love with the campus that it sold me from there.
Oh, that's great. And how did you like your experience there? And what kinds of extracurriculars were you involved in?
So I loved Carnegie Mellon. I had a really, really great experience there. I was able to participate in so many extracurriculars, and I think that smaller class size really gave me the opportunity to do so.
Okay.
So Tepper School of Business, that's what the business school is called,
Mhm.
has a lot of different undergraduate orgs. So I became involved in many of them, but really the one that stuck from a Tepper perspective was the undergraduate marketing organization.
Okay.
So I started that my freshman year and I basically built up to that. My senior year, I was president of that club. So I was running that, running the case competitions, organizing fundraisers, organizing different like pro bono consulting services for companies in the Pittsburgh area. So
Mhm.
it was a really great opportunity from a leadership perspective. And then other than that, across the campus, I was involved in one of our dance teams. It's a bhangra team, so we performed and competed across the country, and as many as like 10 to 12 competitions per year. So I was traveling with them, started that my freshman year, and by senior year I was captain of that as well. So I think there were so many different opportunities to get involved in anything that you liked, and then be able to kind of become an expert in it, climb in it, and then really do what you want with it and take it in your own creative direction. So really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think there were a few other organizations like volunteering. There was some recreational sports that I was part of, and then some other spiritual, cultural organizations too. So a little bit of everything. But I think that's why I loved my experience so much, is it wasn't just academics. It was a lot of other things that gave me joy, that really supplemented the experience.
Yeah, got it. And you achieved the Outstanding Student Award at Tupper. Congratulations. How did
Thank
you
you.
achieve it?
Um, I was very involved in the business school, as I mentioned. So I think being a part of the undergraduate marketing org, I got a chance to become very close with my school advisors.
Mhm,
And they were the ones who basically oversaw all the undergraduate programs, the class scheduling, as well as the organizations and clubs as well. So I got very close with them. I worked with them to kind of define curriculum, or shape the way that we were organizing our clubs,
mhm,
create new ones, be a mentor to undergraduate, like incoming students, provide, advice or experience, and kind of help navigate. So I think I got the opportunity to be very up close and personal with how the undergraduate program was run.
mhm,
A lot of great opportunities as a result, but I think because I was so involved in campus, and then I was also, academically, I think, like, very vocal about what classes I liked, giving feedback about classes,
mhm,
talking to the professor directly, attending office hours. I think a lot of that helped shape it. But really just being as involved as you can. And I think that's what part of the college experience is so great, is you can get involved in the day to day and really do what you want with it.
mhm. And did you do any internships during your undergrad years?
Yeah, so after my sophomore year of college, I actually almost spent that entire year abroad, starting with when I left sophomore year, it was May. The Tepper School is, I think, an example of being involved. They chose 3 students to participate in a European undergraduate summer program at a university in Cologne, Germany. And
Mhm.
so I was able to go and be a part of that for 2.5 weeks.
Oh,
And then from there, I had gotten an internship at Deutsche Bank in Mumbai. So I spent my summer in Mumbai interning there. And it was a really great experience. I think just experiencing a culture that was not, American business. I
mhm,
think being surrounded by different people, different ideas, different ways of working was really great.
mhm,
So I did intern there my summer after sophomore year. And then I interned at Deutsche Bank in New York City my summer after junior year. So
oh,
I was able to, kind of join a whole different team at Deutsche Bank,
mhm,
learn a different skill set. And it was a rotational program of sorts in the undergrad internship. So I did 12 weeks down here on Wall Street in New York. And that was just a really crazy experience as well, from an undergrad perspective. Like, being on Wall Street when you read so much about it was such a cool experience. Um, yeah, so I did those 2 internships, and then ultimately, I took a full-time at IBM, but that was after I graduated.
got it. So going off of that, please describe your previous roles at IBM and then also Spotify.
Yeah, so the way I kind of chose IBM is that Deutsche Bank's full-time offer was a offer for their group tech division. And while I thought it was an enjoyable internship, I wanted to try something different for my full-time job. And so I decided to go into consulting, as many new grads do,
Mhm,
because consulting allows you to work in different industries and different roles, different projects, every so often. So every few months you change projects. And I think that was really appealing to me, because you get to try so many different skill sets, see what you're good at, see what you like, what you don't like, work for different companies because you're being put on assignments there. So that's ultimately what led me to work at IBM. I joined a rotational program called Consulting by Degrees. And it was a 2-year program where you basically rotated on different projects and industries and verticals. So while I was at IBM, I was a consultant in that program, and I worked across financial institutions, a railroad card company, a contact lens company, like so many different types of industries that I really got exposure into what a business analyst role at a bank looked like versus what a users analyst at a big industrial company looked like versus, what a strategist looked like trying to sell work. It was very interesting just getting all those experiences and working with leadership from different parts of the company.
Mhm.
And then the best part about that also was that you had an incoming peer class of about like 200 people that start with you. And so you have, make a lot of good friends through the program. And then ultimately, once you graduate out of that program, you kind of get put into a vertical or a practice. So I got put into the interactive experience practice, which I really enjoyed.
Mhm.
It's all about kind of human-centered design and journey mapping and how we create work and content and workshops to try and empathize with the user journey and how you bring that to different pieces of work. So it was
Mhm.
a really, really awesome practice to be in. So I was at IBM for about 3 years in that practice.
Got it. It's really cool that you got to work on so many different kinds of projects. Um,
Yeah, and I think another appealing thing there is the travel. When you're young, you want to travel, you want to see different cities. And so I was traveling Monday through Thursday, and going to the different city wherever that project was based. So for example, I lived in Chicago, but I was based in Columbus, Ohio for a project for 8 months. So then every Monday morning I would take a flight to Columbus, and then Thursday nights I would go back to Chicago.
mhm.
And that was one of the places. I was also staffed in Rochester, New York. I was staffed in New York City. I was staffed in Chicago itself for a project. So really all over the place. I think that was another benefit.
Mhm. Was it hard to also like manage being out of town for half of the week?
It was and it wasn't. I think there were pros and cons. The good thing was that you had Monday through Thursday to work on yourself and focus on getting work done. And that was your only focus for half the week, right? Because you're on client site. And after work, you kind of go back to your hotel. You make friends with your team. You develop whatever weekday schedule you want. So I was actually very healthy during that time because I was very focused on getting my work done, eating right, going to the gym after work. So it's actually kind of nice. And then the weekends you have to hang out with your family, your friends, do whatever you wanted in your home city. So I actually thought it was a great balance, but it did start getting tiring, which is why after 3 years, I did start looking for other roles.
Got it. And how did you like your role at Spotify?
Yeah, so I loved Spotify. I think after IBM, I decided I wanted to go into industry,
Mhm.
and I wanted to go work for a company whose product I used every single day,
Mhm.
something I can feel, something I can relate to, some company whose mission and values and beliefs I really believed in as well and related to. So I chose to work at Spotify, and I was on their B2B marketing team, on their creative team there. So specifically working with partners who wanted to advertise on the platform in creative ways, whether it's a creative campaign or a podcast host read or a video campaign or a live event that an artist came to where you sponsored. So a lot of different ways to kind of engage with the team. And I was on their strategy and operations team for the creative marketing team. So I think a very interesting way to transition from consulting into industry is to go for a strategy and operations role because they're very similar skill sets where you need to be able to collaborate, work with the team, think
Mhm.
strategically, problem solve, be organized, communicate well, but you can do so in a different industry or vertical altogether. So I found that transition to be really seamless.
Mhm.
But I got to learn all about Spotify as an industry, as a company. It was such a fun company to work for. They really had a great culture, great people, very smart people, and really interesting work. So really had a great opportunity there. And I was there for 3 years as
Got it. And you were part of the women's leadership program at Spotify. Can you please tell us more about that?
Yeah. So Spotify had done its first ever women's leadership program where they had brought in an external company to run a curriculum for about, I want to say 3 months. We had a class once a week. And essentially what they did was they chose 20 rising female leaders at the company to participate in this program so that we could get the skill sets and kind of supercharge our growth of the company by getting support, proper training, and supplemental kind of hands-on mentorship from
Mhm.
different leaders from the company. So it was a really great opportunity to have a structured approach to how they wanted to elevate female leaders in the company. So yeah, really excited and lucky that I got to be part of that program because it really gave me a lot of exposure into leadership, more high profile projects, more strategic projects. So I would say that was a really great avenue for me to kind of um, see what Spotify leadership life was like. And then
Mhm.
I also actually founded a employee resource group at Spotify as well. So I founded the Daisies at Spotify employee group where I essentially held programming, cultural, as well as informative. I brought in different artists from the South Asian diaspora to perform,
Mm.
and really just brought the community together at the company. They didn't have a Daisy's program. I think I was one of their actual first South Asian hires, I would say, in the New York office when I first started. So it was really amazing to be able to build that community and see it grow over the 3 years I was there too.
Mhm.
And it was fun to do too. So I think, and Spotify really highlights and they value their ERGs quite a bit. So they gave us a lot of funding and they gave me a lot of power to just kind of run the ERG how I wanted. So I think it was a really great way for me to practice my more, technical skill set during my day job and then my more creative outlet with this
Mhm.
ERG outside.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. What made you choose to switch to Uber after Spotify?
I wanted to try something different yet again. I think the fun part with your career in business is that you can actually pivot it at every point of your career. You don't have to stay in the same industry. You don't have to stay in the same role. You can just take the skill sets that you've learned and apply it in a whole different way.
Mhm.
So I wanted to learn about product and see what a product org looks like and how product works. So I decided to pivot into a product operations role at Uber.
Mm.
Um, and it's my first time working in tech because I was on the marketing team before. So now I'm working completely on the other side of the house. And I think what's cool here is getting to see that whole end-to-end view where now I'm working on the kind of like the top of the product lifecycle where we're defining a space, we're figuring out a problem to solve, and then we're building the tools that we need and the tech that we need to actually solve it. And
Mhm.
that whole part I'm doing now, whereas at Spotify, I was doing the latter half, which is okay, you have something that your tech team has built. How do you actually take it out to market? How do you sell it? How do you monetize it? How do you actually get people to use it? So I think it was very cool to see the different sides of the life cycle.
Got it. And how do you like your job? What are your daily responsibilities?
I love it. I think it is very cool to be able to pick a problem that you want to solve and then define how you want to solve it yourself and use data and informed decision making to do that. But there is something very satisfying about building something with your eng team and then being able to launch it and seeing how the impact that it drives right away.
Mhm.
So my role as a product operations manager is to work with the tech team to define a problem space, understand requirements, and then actually determine the go-to-market strategy for every product that we work on,
Mhm.
and then drive adoption. So in every single market. So my role is global. I work with different markets and different teams in every single country that we operate in to
Mhm.
actually launch something by meeting like local regulations, local requirements, but also making sure we're actually providing the impact and value that we set out to when we first built it. So it's very satisfying, very rewarding, and it is definitely an area of a lot of responsibility and opportunity. But I think there's just so much that you can do in this space with the product team that
Mhm.
I'm really enjoying it day to day.
Oh, that's good. And how's your work-life balance? Are you able to take time off to pursue your interests, travel, spend time with family?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think tech companies now have very flexible vacation policies, and they're pretty good about, giving you 4, 5, 6 weeks off a year. So it does give you the time to explore your hobby. So I travel quite a bit. I love traveling, and so I think I've been able to really do that a lot, especially with remote work now and hybrid work models.
Mhm.
Definitely, they're very supportive of that. So yes, I do. I think it's a very work hard, play hard environment in tech. And, you work really hard during the day, but then once you log off, like you have ample time to kind of explore your hobbies, whether it's cooking or traveling or reading or spending time with loved ones. I think
Mhm.
it's all about kind of this balance that you strike. And I think that's the case in any company. You have to strike that balance. You can always take on more work, but you can also draw the line where you want to.
Yeah, that makes sense. And looking back, would you do anything differently?
Um, I don't think so. I think I'm very happy with how my career has panned out and how the decisions that I've made, the companies I've worked at, what I studied in undergrad, what I got involved in. No, I think I wouldn't have changed anything.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, what are three pieces of advice you would give to high schoolers looking to study business?
I would say the first is talk to as many people as you can, or watch these interviews, because I think there's so many different career paths that you can go down in business, and you don't really know that going out of even coming out of undergrad, because you see job postings and hiring for specific types of roles, but there are so many roles that you can go into with a business degree. So I would say like be open-minded, talk to people who work in the companies that you like and the industries that you like and just try to learn and absorb. I would say
Mhm,
that's one. I think the second is to sharpen your skill set, both inside and outside of the classroom. So it's not just about being book smart, but it is very much about being practically smart as well and how you apply what you learn in the classroom to your different roles. So I think in business, especially, the some of the most common skill sets that I use every single day are like problem solving, communication, teamwork, cross collaboration, and just kind of thinking on your feet, being adapting, being flexible. And so I think there's a lot of that that does not get taught in the classroom. So I would say like being able to practice them, explore them, and continue refining them throughout your career is going to be really important as well.
mhm,
And then the third I would say is that people might tell you that you get pigeonholed into different career paths and opportunities, and I don't think that's the case at all. And I don't
mhm,
think you should ever believe that either. Just because you're working in a specific field doesn't mean you have to work there for the rest of your life.
mhm,
So it's easy to pivot your career and build business as well. And like I said, take the skill set that you have and try to figure out different ways to apply it. But I think it's a lot easier to do than you might think. So don't be afraid to take those risks either.
mhm. Well, that makes sense. Thank you so much for all of your advice and sharing your experiences. Do you have any other thoughts to share?
No, I love having a career in business. I think there's so many opportunities here. So hopefully everyone found this very helpful.
Yeah, it was really helpful. Your experiences in college, all of the extracurriculars that you were involved in, and all of the awards and recognition you got was really, really interesting. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sanvi.